Greetings everybody, it's Humpty here, and we have some really cool news about Marvel's Avengers. Scot Amos, head of Crystal Dynamics, sat down with members of the PlayStation blog for an interview and update on the game. During the interview, they discussed both new details about the story and gameplay we'll be experiencing in Marvel's Avengers. In the new details about the story, Amos discussed why Kamala Khan was chosen as the point of view character and how she represents us, the players. Like us, she is a fan of the Avengers, and she wants to assist them throughout the game. Crystal Dynamics felt that this was a really good way to introduce a new character like Kamala Khan, while also giving players a new character we can relate to. In terms of the main antagonists in Marvel's Avengers, Amos talked about how AIM truly believes that they are the heroes in this story. After the events on A-Day, AIM believes that it can solve these problems through science. However, he mentions that science can go wrong, and it usually does in these kinds of stories. He doesn't go too much into detail about this, but he says there's a lot more going on in AIM than we know about, and various factions within them that have their own hidden agendas. And for fans of Marvel Comics, the interview also discusses that there's going to be plenty of lore and backstory for players who want to find and discover it, with plenty of callbacks and Easter eggs to find throughout various missions in the game. New gameplay details were also discussed in the interview, the biggest one being the war table and the gear system. The war table, which we know is essentially the mission select screen, will include a bit more than we originally thought. So all missions that move the main story along we marked with the Avengers A symbol. Scott also discussed how Warzone missions, which can be played either online co-op or offline with the AI as your Avenger companions, will also have their own side stories. They also confirmed that hero chains and boss chains will also be accessible through the war table. Hero chains are discussed a little bit more, where they are specific missions to certain heroes. In the interview, Scott talks about how each Avenger will have missions specific to them that will tell more of their story or backstory. It's also a great way, he says, to unlock new gear or costumes for that character. One of the things that I thought was really cool is that they expect to add more hero chain missions post-launch. So these characters' stories will constantly be evolving and changing even after the game is launched, and to me, that's just so great to see their commitment to building the story even past launch. Now, they don't directly go into what boss chains are, they're only mentioned by name. My assumption is they're going to be used to get higher gear loot, just like they use in Destiny or other such kinds of games. But that's just speculation, because again, they didn't actually go into what boss chains are. All we know is that they're accessible from the war table and they're missions of some sort. Scott also goes a little bit deeper into the gear customization, which was a really interesting point in the conversation. We've seen a little bit of the gear screen. That was in the game overview trailer that I had playing in the background just a moment ago, but Scott revealed a little bit more new information about it. He mentions that gear will be one of the key factors players use to differentiate themselves from one another. Gear will also come from different manufacturers. So the example they gave in the interview, which was really cool, was that as Iron Man, you would have a piece of Pimtech as your gear. And while using that Pimtech, you could actually shrink large enemies from anywhere to a half or a third of their size if you dealt enough damage to them, which to me seems really cool. I'm very curious to see what other manufacturers they'll have, but I think it's a great way to mix up your playstyle on any given day, depending on how many different manufacturers and effects they have. So overall, I think it's a great feature that's going to add a lot to the replayability of this game. And that really is the quick recap of their 20-minute or so interview. So tell me, what do you think? Do you think this stuff sounds awesome, great, terrible? You tell me. And if there's any manufacturers you want to see, absolutely let me know. I'd love to hear people's ideas on manufacturers and what kind of effects they would bring to the game. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, stay tuned because I'll be covering Marvel's Avengers and posting as much information and commentary and updates for Marvel's Avengers. So thank you so much, and happy avenging!